Hello everyone, this is information for the person on the street assignment for Stratazine. The person on the street is really important. It helps us to get a gauge on what people are talking about. So you really need to refine that question for a general population. So not so much where people wouldn't know what you're talking about. For example, if we're talking about social media engagement, then instead of getting into, some of the nuts and bolts of the terminology for social media, we can just ask them, what do you think makes a social media post truly engaging and what makes you want to stop and interact with it? So give them some time to think about that question. Okay, let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. You will create a script for this. You'll do it before and after. The before is to put in what your question is. So you'll see here it says, I'm, whatever your name is, at the crossroads or wherever you are. This is just an example. I'm asking students what they think makes a social media post truly engaging. Then you're going to go out and do that. And when you finish the interviews, the ones you chose, make sure that you put their name, first and last name, in the script so we know who they are. And this also gives you an out. So should be you on camera somewhere saying the students we talked with, whatever you think. This is just an example. Students we talked with like the video. They also like video. They also engage with content that has meaning to them. So it gives you a way to start and end the segment. So let's talk about the segment. So team number 1 does the interviews and edits them, and team number 2 will shoot the video. So team number 1, you're in charge of asking the questions and being on camera. And team number 2, you'll shoot the video. Team member number 1, you will edit it. Do from 5 to 8 interviews and make sure you ask the same question, but you don't have to show you asking the question every time. Oftentimes, right at the beginning is enough. Try to keep this video to be about 1 minute in length. So like we talked about, pick a relevant question, try it out with people who will give you some honest feedback, make sure it's open-ended. Then find a location that works. The crossroads is fine, some other place. Sometimes the crossroads is really noisy, so you might think about that one. Before you go out, you can use the equipment that I provide with the lavalier microphone and the adapter for your smartphone. But just make sure whatever you use is working. You got the battery charged. Nothing worse than getting out to do interviews and things aren't working. You want to frame the interviews carefully and correctly. I've given you some examples here of a head and shoulders look. Give the people a little bit of lead room. Watch out for what's behind them so there's not strange things going on behind them as you ask the questions, and then give them time to answer them. You definitely need to give the interview specific instructions. Ask them if they will be on camera for your interview. Tell them it's for Stratazine. Tell it is a podcast that goes online while you're doing it, and ask them to say and spell their name on camera. We may not use that on camera, but we know who it is if we have any questions. Ask your question. Make sure it's the same for everybody. And then review the interview before you let that person walk away. It's a lot better to have to actually ask them the question again, then go back and review it and realize that it didn't work. And so you have to go out and do all brand new interviews. And make sure you say thank you before you let the people go away. We want to leave them with a good impression. They had a good time. So here's a couple of examples. This is one for a class where I had them put a graphic on at the beginning.
I prefer Marvel movies. Marvel. For me, Marvel, personally. It's hard to say.
So I think I like the original Marvel movies better.
Okay, you'll see one thing they did here. They asked the same question. They asked the question once, and then they let the people answer it, and then they edited them together. You notice they have people on different sides of the camera, so they aren't just replacing each other. You notice they have a person on this side and then someone on this side. So alternate that if you can. And make sure your audio looks good. And this is nice framing. It looks pretty good. Here's another example. This one, well, let's just take a peek.
My favorite thing about BYU Idaho is the sense of community that we have here.
I think just being around people with similar beliefs.
It's definitely being, hearing the environment.
I feel like you.
So I like the way this one was lighted. I think they asked good questions. Again, they could have alternated so you don't have the same framing of one person showing up and kind of like they're magically appearing. But that's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about that too much. The main goal is to frame them nicely, make sure it sounds good, and then we'll get into the editing process later. So once you get it all shot, then the person who is actually going to be editing it, make sure you get that either on your, I like it on a laptop, and I use CapCut. So get your video, get all the interviews there, and create a new project. And whether using CapCut or not, it will be very similar to the process. import all the interviews that you used, and then go ahead and organize them down here in the timeline, however you want them to go, put them in order, and then you can start to trim them up. So trim them up, make sure they look good, make sure the audio is even so you can tweak that with your audio levels so they sound good. And then once you're done, you're going to export it out. So this is how you do it in CapCut, but all of the editors have similar features. The main thing I want you to remember is to export it in 1080p at a pretty high resolution. The codec, it may not have this one, but typically it's in either H.264 or HEVC and MP4. Go ahead and click that out. If you have any questions on the export format, usually the default 1080p is going to be fine. And then go ahead and give that a name and export that thing out. Turnitin in. I want you to have as a group, have a Google Drive, and individually you can as well. Maybe a Google Drive of one of yours that you share, you can give information to back and forth. So make sure you have a folder on a Google Drive that's got the name of your group. And once you have that, then you're going to go ahead and upload, and this would be the video segment and your script you would upload here. So make sure you upload that into your folder. And then go ahead and share those segments. Go ahead and click share, click here. Once you do that, you're going to make sure you give this to anyone with the link can view it, then copy that link. So you want to do that both for your script and for your video. Click done, and then here on Canvas is where you're going to find the assignment. You open it up, and it's going to open up a website URL, and you can put it in here, and because you're going to put a link to both of them in from your Google Drive. So go ahead and put those in there. Okay, if you have questions about that, we'll talk about it some more, but hopefully this will help you as you're creating your person on the street interviews.